Welcome to part 2 from DarkArts.com Spells from Forgotten Legends. Okay, now that we've got a render that we just cut, I know I kind of cheated and I was already cutting it. I'm going to go ahead and double check see if I saved it. I probably didn't. Anyway, first things first is you've got your background. We're going to explain different variations of effects in here. First of all, I just want to call this a BG for background. I always label everything in groups. It helps you keep organized. BG and other related items. Every person does this who's a graphic designer, but the BG layer is usually a black or a white layer to start out with. I'm going to go ahead and make sure it's black. Okay, so it is a black layer. Now I'm going to open a couple items. As you can see, I don't want the render yet, but I'm going to go ahead and delete this work in progress, and I'm going to go ahead and go to my computer, program files, not my videos, sorry, photos, C4Ds. I downloaded some of these nice stuff from the, website. So I'll go ahead and take some from my downloads. Sorry. Oh, come on. Masterminds, Guild Wars, libraries, recent places. So a bunch of stuff here. Hopefully my downloads are around here. Yay, my downloads are. So anyway, we have a logo sheet, a Team Pack 3. So I'll extract files here just to see what they are. And these would be the same files that Buddha made. This is what we call a C4D. Now, it may not actually be from Cinema 4D. Could also be from other websites not websites. Wow, I'm tired. Other programs such as Studio Max, ZBrush, stuff like that. ZBrush and Studio Max are the leading programs to get into the industry for making video games, movie edits, stuff like that. So they're definitely worth checking out. Anyway, so now that we're on, these I will call C4Ds, and we'll just call them what we want to call them. So I kind of want to start things off with a very simple logo. We'll keep the manipulation. We'll save that one for later. But we'll also keep this one. And we're going to go ahead and move this one on top of this. And we'll go ahead and move this layer as well. Now the reason I'm doing that, give me a second. I think this one's trying to show up first. And so I can resize it accordingly. The reason I'm doing this in a SIG instead of a large art piece is most of the people on the website, including some that you might actually do, are tag makers. So anyway, we'll go ahead and start things off like that. We'll find out where that is in a second. But right now, I'll just open it back up and get it. Ooh. I'll actually use this one. Okay. Now what I like to call these are sci-fi renders. Okay. We're just going to place them about right there. And this one's going to be called C4D-abs. It means abstract. And then C4D-abs. Okay. Now comes the fun part. When you make a new folder, you're going to make one called C4Ds, And yeah, this is a little OCD, but if you do it, I guarantee you a lot better flow. And then this one's going to be called lighting. Now with lighting, you're going to go ahead and make a separate layer, call it soft. And you're going to go ahead and paint this a color that you can honestly see, or you can use a nebula background or a texture. But let's say I want a kind of purplish, but not yet. Okay, I'll go ahead and make this about 100. Give it some light. And I'm going to throw a texture back there. That is a soft round. And I'll go ahead and put that here. So soft round brush 100%. Now that you know what these stand for, it will be 10 times easier for you to figure out later down the road. Now comes the fun part. We're going to go ahead and add a texture. The reason why we're starting with the background more than anything is because it's the most important. So I go ahead, and we'll go ahead and go to textures, and we'll use one that I have a specific folder where I ask DeviantArt people if I can use the work, and I don't do it very often, but sometimes something catches my eye. So where did I put that? These are textures, and these are wallpapers that I've used in the past. Now, we start out giving it a generic light with the texture. Now this will probably not show the way you want, so I'm going to go ahead and move the lighting above it. And the reason I'm doing this is what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that soft round, but I'm actually going to push it on a layer. Try to get a better version of it. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is repaint a generic scene. The reason I'm doing this is I can always change it slightly. So I'll keep it on 55, and I'll change this number, which is fully labeled, to 55, and there to change the color. Okay, now that lightning's done, we put this as space texture. There's great tutorials online that will teach you. You can create your own space backgrounds. They're quite fun to do, actually. My first Photoshop assignment in school when I went was to make an exploding planet. Believe it or not. It was a very fun thing to do. So these unfortunately do not have the nice effect that a regular C4D would, where they just go in really nice. So what I like to do is, if I'm going to do a lighting thing, I'm going to go ahead and texture it, and probably screen this one. If I can get the effect I want. Okay. Now, on these are for minting melting effects. it is to be strictly not necessarily pointing out, but something to add to the background. So I go to Photoshop, go to C4Ds, go over here. Give me 1 second, guys. Sorry about that. Okay, resuming back to where we were. Buddha made some interesting pack ideas, so we're going to go ahead and stick with his pack. We're going to go ahead and bring this out. The reason I keep using Buddha C4Ds is they're all alike. They're all textured, very well fit with each other. And he's also an excellent team person. And there we go. See, one thing's missing I like to do is I like when I make a texture to get a general feel of where I want stuff. And I will go ahead and I'm sorry about that. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and erase this section up here to get the next part of it to flow right. We can probably go ahead and scoot this down to give it that generic fill. Okay, now that we have that, I want to go ahead and put that in this one as well. And it makes a general effect, but not too over the top. I want it kind of below that one. Okay. The reason I'm showing multiple elements is because you will never get really good doing one or the other. I can show you how to smudge, but the better tutorials are from people like Quabeep. There's Merc, and there's a couple others. But the point of smudging is to get a general feel of depth. So I will go ahead and move along to the next thing I want to do, and that is called adding the focal, because you don't want to go ahead and just keep piling on the thing. So with that being said, I already know which focal I'm using because I've already cut it out, and you saw me cut it out. So resources, things I'm cutting out, emo girl right there. I just put punk girl, but you know what I'm saying. I'm gonna go ahead and get ruler on here. Go ahead and shape her down a bit. Now with this background, I kind of want to adjustments. Okay, so I'm gonna get this slightly adjusted. And the nice part about the adjustments is you get the vibrance up, maybe a little less than that. You go ahead and get some contrast up. And the final touch, we get one of my favorite. No, I don't care. Do like this one, so I think I'm gonna use it actually. Okay, I could try to do this better. main issue is it's a really grainy texture. Don't want to get it too out of focus. So I'll do that. And you remember me stating that there's a background by it? So I'm going to go ahead and take this texture, the space texture, and go ahead and erase a portion of it. And the reason is, it just doesn't need to be there. Okay. Now the best thing to do for this is to duplicate this layer, but below it. What I'm trying to do is get a really cool texture going here. And at the same time have some fun. Like right now, I want to kind of go ahead and dull this down. And if I duplicate this one more time to get the generic fill I want, I can go ahead and adjust this contrast. Because see, I want the feeling of depth, an added bonus. One thing I'm going to go ahead and do is Control E. Control E, E. Then what I'm going to go ahead and do is call this a burn layer. And basically, essentially, I'm not actually burning it. I'm actually just applying some texture and more contrast by darkening. And go ahead and load the opacity. Okay. Now, with that taken care of, we move to our next bit of goal. So we go ahead and kill the lighting, kill this, kill the background, kill the adjustments, and make a layer called shapes. There's two different ways to do shapes. You can make them, and you can download packs. I mean, pen tool shapes, I'll have another tutorial on that later. I'm pretty lazy of a person, because I think this is going to be about 2 to 3 videos already. I do not want to, do too much in each video, because I have to actually upload these. So once these reach about 40 minutes a pop, you're definitely going to have some watching to do. So with shapes, we go ahead and go to the, well, I have a shape area, it's this one, but I also have shapes from various people. But what you're going to want to do is pick one that you think works exceptionally well, I'm a big fan of these. And this way, you can stretch them however you want. And how to make this work, because I'm going to have to move them. Let's go ahead and do something along the lines of this. Now, you might be able to adjust it, but I said this was going to be about manipulation. So, let's get to that part. So, first things first, you go ahead, you get the shapes where you want them. I call this shape by head. And you basically copy. The reason you're copying is you're trying to get the generic effects. And see, here's the thing. You can rename them whatever you want later. Okay. So. By hand. Anyway, back to what I was saying. By head. Okay, so next you get a shape. And you want to make sure that you get one that you like. So I'm going to go ahead and either use this one or this one. I think I'm going to use this one. Yeah, I'll use this one. And the nice part about this is even though it looks messy, Control I. Then I call this white shape. I can go ahead, move these down below the C4Ds. And take the textures that I copied, Control E, call this space texture, and I can go ahead and make it a bit blander if I choose to, just to fit the white. So instead of doing a ton of work, okay, now what we're going to go ahead and do is go to the vibrance layer that we adjusted earlier. And even though I gave it contrast, you click on the circle, you're actually going to go ahead, give it a little less vibrance, maybe 9. And then go to your shapes. Give them about like a 75. Close up your shapes, close up your background. Because what's going to happen now is part 3 of the video, I think. actually manipulating? Okay, yeah. Part 3, guys. Sorry, wasn't sure. It's how long these videos. I don't want you guys sitting through 3 hours of videos. You guys get 3 videos, or 4, depending.